Hello, my name is Moderim and today I will break down Elden Ring for you. The Elden Ring was shattered into shards, runes defining the golden order of the world between. A world ruled by Queen Marika the Eternal. Her offspring, the demigods of old, have claimed the greater runes, giving them strength otherwise unobtainable, though tainting them in the process, causing them to go mad. A war erupted, known as the Shattering, leading to the abandonment of the Greater Will. Unknown individuals managed to steal the Greater Rune of Death, throwing the Order of Life into chaos. Those whose time have passed long ago started to come back, resurrected by the missing law, nothing preventing them from coming back. And with the grace of the Earth Tree, an enormous, luminous tree located in the middle of the lands between, leaving this world, our time has come. We are a descendant of the Tarnished, a group of heroes who were spurned by the grace of gold and exiled from the lands between, now coming back defying death, with our grace long lost, following the path to reclaim the greater runes and stand before the Elden Ring, to become the Elden Lord. Now, to accomplish this, we are going to explore a massive open world. But what is there to explore? The environments of Elden Ring are no longer a continuity of levels, but are split into large biomes with dungeon-like points of interest. Those can be simple caves, ruins, churches, wilds and bridges, but can also be sub-biomes called legacy dungeons, for example Stormvale Castle. Bosses can be encountered either as roaming entities or guardians at the end of dungeons. Stakes of Marika are statues indicating boss fights that can be found in new locations you explore. If you happen to die in a zone after visiting one of those, you can choose to be revived at one or at the site of grace. Leaving a location will unbind you from the stake, and you will lose the ability to revive there. Sites of Grace function identically to bonfires in Souls games and offer players an array of guiding light, indicating points of interest and where to go next. You can however just explore on your own without the need to follow them. Each player will also have a map they can use to plan out their journey, allowing you to place markers and beacons at places that catch your eye. Now, what about travel? The world of Elden Ring will be large and travel times on foot long. However, you will have the option to fast travel to already visited locations through the use of your map. You will also have a mount available to you, which is not only faster but also allows you to jump higher and further, and also double jump to explore and reach otherwise inaccessible locations. Mounts can also be used in combat, but I will talk about this feature in the mounted combat section. Another new tool to exploring is jumping and spirit springs. They can be found next to high cliffs, and stepping on them will launch you vertically. Those can be used to access parts of the world, means of escape, or just shortcuts you unlock later down the line. Given the size of the game and only limited availability of information, we cannot be sure if there is not more. We might see other means of transportations during our playthroughs. But what spices things up a little bit are weather effects. Something completely new are night and day cycles. They take 1 hour of real time to pass, and you can pass time at sites of grace to skip over them. Enemies change at night and are generally tougher. There's also more of them. You can also find different gatherables at different daytimes. But that's not all. Elden Ring also features weather effects. Those are completely dynamic and changed environments while they are happening. Examples of this are heavy rain and lightning storms. Given the availability of other biomes, I'm fairly certain we are also getting snowstorms, fog and more. Weather effects usually make the environments much more dangerous, so take care. Now, to explore everything, you're going to fight a lot and engage in combat pretty much all the time. Be it stealthy through sneak attacks, head on with an axe, sword and shield or lance, or range through bow and arrows, sorceries and incantations. For this we are presented with a lot of different tools. Starting with melee weapons, we are getting our light attacks and heavy attacks in, but we are also getting access to jump attacks, lunging attacks, charge attacks, special attacks tied to weapon types, and power stancing or dual wielding. You can only dual wield when using 2 one-handed weapons of the same type. For example, an axe and an axe, or katana and katana. The weapon art is tied to the main hand, but you can also assign them to some offhand weapon types like shields and catalysts. You can also still kick enemies, but only when using no weapon at all. Now, what if you want to change the scaling of a weapon or use a different weapon art? You can easily do this with Ashes of War at Sites of Grace. This is especially useful for casters because some weapon arts scale with intelligence, faith or arcane. Dodging is still affected by weapon load, but you are also gaining a new additional tool. Jumping has iframes, making you invincible for short periods of time, giving you more opportunities to maneuver around the battlefield. Now a great addition for more defensive playstyles are guard counters. You can now perform a strong R2 attack after blocking an incoming attack. This attack deals a lot more posture damage and can open up enemies for critical strikes very easily. Shields are very strong this time around. Now what is posture damage? Sekiro featured a gouge for us to look at, and it was the center point of the game, but Elden Ring is different. It retained this mechanic, toned it down and hit the gouge. You are still able to stagger enemies and perform special executes and critical strikes on foes, though some are immune to this. Charged attacks are a great way to take advantage of this mechanic. Same with jumping attacks, since they both deal a lot of posture damage. Now charge attacks are also not unique to melee attacks anymore. You are able to access them when casting spells, be it sorceries or incantations. The effects vary and usually improve the spell considerably with a trade-off: an increased casting time. Examples for improvements are longer channel times, longer persistency of spells and spell effects, or additional effects like getting the ability to dismount riders. Summoning companions and mounted combat are also great additions for magic users, but I will talk about ranged combat first since it benefits both playstyles equally. Range attacks saw a lot of improvements. Faster draw times, more weapon options to choose from and more mobility are just a tip. One exciting addition is Sekiro's jumping attack. You can also shoot enemies while airborne. Critical hits through sneak attacks while crouching are also a thing, and you are also blessed with many new types of ammo, be it sleeping arrows, fire arrows or poison arrows. Sleeping arrows are a great way to enable stealthy gameplay. Backstabbing to finish off unsuspecting targets is much easier now. Decreased sneak detection during night also helps massively. You are much harder to spot in this game. Counters and parries are also still in the game and are a great addition for dexterity based builds. But how do you get your tools for this more assassin style playstyle? Elden Ring will feature a crafting system. For this you will need a crafting kit bought from an NPC vendor, or you can potentially find it in the open world. To gain access to recipes you must find and acquire books and scrolls called cookbooks. The materials for specific items are found through foraging and hunting between bosses and dungeons, and what you need to find is always hinted in the recipe. Once you have the required ingredients, which respawn instantly after resting at a grace, you need to open the menu and navigate to the item crafting tab. No arrows or bombs? No problem. No need to run to a grace. You just need the ingredients in your inventory. One special item that works like your health flasks are cracked pots. Those are containers and return to you empty once you throw the crafted bomb, letting you craft more up until you reach a cap of pots. Crafting just seems crazy good in this game. All these consumables are especially useful for mages and archers, but also give you a lot of options for melee based playstyles. I'm just really excited for this feature. Now let's go back to combat. Mounted combat is now part of the game, giving you access to lots and lots of mobilities on casters and archers. You can cast spells and fire arrows while still moving. Jumping attacks can also be used when dismounting, which lets you engage enemies with your melee attacks from pretty far away. Using a flask on horseback will only heal you, but your mount has a health bar too, though Torrent has quite a lot of HP. Once it dies, you need to use a crimson flask to revive it. To prevent its death, use Roa berries to craft them into Roa resins, which are consumables to heal your mount while mounted. You also still have your hidden posture gouge, so getting hit too many times on horseback will result in you getting knocked down for a long time, and this will hurt. So get off while you still can. Once you are down, you have more options available to you than just attacks and consumables. You can use summons through spirit ashes. Those come in different varieties. Some are designed to tank and others are designed to damage your foes. Depending on your playstyle, you will use some and avoid others. Now, where can you summon those companions? When you see this icon on the left side of your screen, they are good to go. Otherwise, you cannot summon them. They also cost a bunch of FP, so be careful. They also need to be upgraded like weapons at a specific NPC. Now when all of that is not enough, you still have the option to summon other players. I will go over the basics here and not touch upon the items needed, since this might change with the official release. You can have up to 3 additional players in your session, either 2 allies and 1 invader, or 1 ally and 2 invaders. You can also be never invaded solo except when using a special item. Summoning other players requires you to use another item to see white and red summoning signs. White summoning signs summon friendly players, astrologers, and red ones summon invaders for PvP. You also get access to a ring to be summoned to other random players that need help with an invasion, or summon someone to help you with your own. You can also write messages to other players, just like in Dark Souls. Next up is the character creation. It will feature an in-depth system to customize the looks of your character, though there is currently no legal source material for the footage, so I will just link an IGN article with pictures in the description box for you guys to enjoy. Next are your starting classes. Elden Ring will feature 10. Those determine your origin, starting level, initial stat distribution, as well as your starting equipment. You can choose between a vagabond, warrior, hero, bandit, astrologer, prophet, samurai, prisoner, confessor, and wretch. Vagabonds are knights exiled from their homeland to wander and are melee oriented with a strength dexterity split with a focus on health with vigor. Warriors are twin blade wielding individuals from a nomadic tribe and lean heavily into dex. Heroes are more akin to barbarians and ride at home with a battle axe. They lean heavily into strength. Bandits live and die by their arrows, focusing on range combat and favor backstabs, critical hits, and parrying in battle. Astrologers are scholars who read fate in the stars and utilize glintstone sorceries. They are very weak at anything else and focus heavily on spellcasting. Prophets are well versed in healing incantations and are better suited for melee combat than their scholar counterparts. Their offensive repertoire is unlocked a bit later down the line and offers access to fire and holy damage, so don't expect something akin to an Inquisitor. Samurai are capable fighters from the remote land of reeds. This class gains access to a katana and a longbow with their starting equipment. They are very similar to a traditional ranger. Prisoners are bound by their iron mask. Once an elite, they are studied in glintstone sorceries, but the class also combines swordsmanship with sorceries, so this one is a spellblade. Confessors are bound to the church and combine sword technique with incantations. This playstyle is a bit on the defensive side and similar to a cleric in chain armor. And wretches are the giga chads of this world. They start out with nothing, with an even stat distribution at level 1 and only have a club to conquer the lands between. As for the keepsakes that are available to you, you have 9 to choose from. Those items are basically bonus items that can alter your playstyle and your playthrough, but can also be ignored altogether. The Crimson Amber Amulet increases your HP when equipped. Lands Between Rune gives you extra runes which are used to level up and trade with NPCs. The Golden Seed upgrades your flask, increasing its capacity. The Fanged Imp Ashes summons a Fanged Imp as a companion to aid us in battle. A Cracked Pot is a crafting material used to craft throwing pots. They are permanent and will be refunded when you throw a pot, so they are really good. Stone Sword Keys lets us open one Imp Gargoyle lock, which contains hidden rewards. There are multiple chests hidden throughout the lands in between, so choose wisely. The Bewitching Branch is an item with an unknown purpose. A Boiled Prawn reduces your damage taken when consumed. Shabridi's Woe increases madness buildup when equipped. This item is really good for specific builds. Now a short summary of which stat does what. Vigor increases HP and fire poison resistance. Mind increases FP, functioning as mana, and focus resistance. Endurance increases stamina and physical defenses as well as robustness. Strength is required for heavy armor as well as some weapons and increases damage with strength based arms. Dexterity is required for specific weapons, increases your damage with dexterity based arms and increases your cast time. It also reduces your fall damage and increases your mount fall resistance. Intelligence is required for sorceries and increases your sorcery damage as well as your magic resistance. Faith is required for incantations and increases the effectiveness of faith based incantations. And Arcane increases your chance to receive loot from defeated enemies. It also increases your death resistance and increases your damage with arcane scaling, sorceries and incantations. And just to finish it up, here are the system requirements for PC. This game is quite CPU heavy, because all open world games are, but it also features a relatively high RAM requirement. Now, it was a pleasure to make this video, and I will make many more covering previews, reviews and first impressions as well as guides. I thank every trader in my lair for their generous donation. Anyway, that's all I have for you for now. See you next time and bye.